Welcome back to another video. We are doing fight number 7. This is Manny in the far corner. We've got Joe in the near corner in the black shorts as well. So Manny is a boxer. He came in with some boxing experience. He was a friend of a friend that got brought in, and he's been definitely really fun. We're having a lot of fun with him. He's definitely having a lot of fun. He's got good reach on him. He's got some size. Don't know where he's at weight-wise right now, but he is on the path of trying to slim down to like 200, 205, and that's going to take a minute. So he's definitely got some punch on that jab. Here where I'm doing the standard, obey my commands at all times, protect yourself at all times, keep it light to the head. That's pretty much it, fellas. No knees to the head, no elbows to the head. Typical amateur rules, the way they do it in North Carolina. But here we go. So this is the first round. This is an MMA round. Even though Manny is a boxer, it still is MMA rounds, and you see that with the shin guards. So Joe has shin guards on. That means he can kick. Manny doesn't have shin guards on, so he can still check, but he is not kicking. Don't know if he knew how to kick. And I did tell him that if he brought shin guards, I'd teach him. But so here we go. Joe shoots in for a quick takedown. There is a size disparity, so Joe is definitely trying to get this one to the ground. Manny does have an advantage with the reach and with his jab. Joe going for a leg lace, but doesn't have his opponent off balance. Of course, here I am obscuring the security cam footage with my giant wide body sweating through a USA Wrestling sweatshirt. Shout out to the Olympics doing their thing. But here we go. So a lot of energy from both guys back and forth. Obviously there is a weight class disparity here as well. Joe's got to be very clever. He's very muscular. You couldn't tell from the lack of pixels on your screen right now, but Joe is a muscular boy. But he's got to be intelligent on how he uses that muscle, because he could burn himself out as well. When you clinch with a boxer, you really want to lay your body weight on their arms more than their torso. You really want to fatigue those shoulders out. That way that long jab is going to get a lot slower, and it's not going to snap your head back as much. Manny trying to keep the range. Unintentionally, slightly intentionally, I've really been training Manny for this, because most of the times that we spar, I'm constantly just going in for takedowns, so he knows what this feels like. He's been pressed on the cage before. He's been in double legs and single legs and body locked and all that before, and he's had to find ways to deal with that. And it is a challenge. I noticed when I went up from, I think I had 14-ounce boxing gloves, just because that's all I could get during pandemic, to now I'm using 18-ounce gloves. Grappling him's gotten much, much harder just with that glove change. And in that time, his defense is also getting better. So a little bit of head movement there. Manny is working on controlling the power to the head, not making the jabs too stiff. We don't want people going home with a headache. If you want to hit hard, that's great. Take a full fight, get it sanctioned, and go for the whole thing. As far as the mock fights, we're just trying to control that CTE, try to keep that head trauma down as much as realistically possible. That way we can do more and get better. You are constantly hearing about UFC fighters, once they get to a certain level, that they're starting to chill out with the sparring, because they don't want to show up to a fight with some injuries and have to fight through that, even though they say nobody really fights 100%. They want to minimize that. And then now that we're learning more about head trauma and stuff, we've always wanted to try to keep that minimized as well. Manny backs Joe into the corner. He's going low. He's going high through a hook up top. He's trying to get that head movement. The head movement's looking good. I just want him to take his hands with his head. If you're moving your head around, still keep those hands up. It's not a boxing match. You never know. Joe could throw a kick up there. He's got that. That's going to be the end of the first round, going to the corner. So we're wondering what Joe's thinking. He did go for a body lock. He was able to press it to the cage. He had 2 good attempts on there, very close on a double leg, but he did not get it to the ground. So you got to think, how much energy did I spend? Do I have that in me again to go for it, or am I going to gas out and get jabbed out by a boxer who's staying light on the feet? If I'm Joe, I'm chopping leg kicks. Manny's been told he needs to bring some shin guards. He's been told this for months and months now, so that's on him if he's not bringing them. But you need to diversify it away. You're at a disadvantage with the reach on the jab, and then with or without the reach advantage, Manny, he's got a legit jab. It's good, and he's got some good head movement. So don't let Manny pull you into fighting his fight. You got to make it your fight. Don't let him pull you into a boxing match. I think he mentioned talking about trying to take some boxing soon. I think he wants to cut down to 205 and then try to get a fight or two, something like that. I don't remember if school is a factor or how he's got to schedule it, but So he's taking it pretty seriously. He comes to play. He comes to get out here. And so, like I said with Joe, you really want to make it your fight. You know, if you have a disadvantage from the reach, from the boxing, whatever, let's not take a boxing fight. Let's get in there. Let's get inside. Wait for him to throw something big. Slip inside on it. Keep your hands up to protect yourself. Let's get close again. Let's get in that clinching range. But right now, Manny's using that jab. He's keeping Joe on the outside, and he's just going to start pecking away. Here we go. Body shot right there. Joe did opt to take the shin guards off. Looks like he just doesn't feel like throwing any leg kicks today, which honestly I disagree with that, with his corner judgment on that, because the leg guards, the shin guards, they're not going to really slow you down in any way other than throwing a triangle, which doesn't look like that's on the menu right now. The shin guards aren't slowing you down, so losing them, who cares? But you do lose a weapon. You're not able to get those leg kicks and really give something else for Manny to think about. I would say throw those kicks, make him start reaching, make him start thinking about the kick, then your hands are going to score. Start faking a shot, whether you go for it or not, he's really got to think about it, and that's going to open up a lot more for you. But Manny's fighting his fight right now. He's using that jab. There it is again. Anytime Joe steps into his range, jab's right there to greet him, and so he's got a lot of control. Again, some head movement with that. I would like to see him taking his hands with his head. You know, play a little bit more peekaboo, keeping those hands up. When he's jabbing, that rear hand's dropping, and so I'd be worried about a leg kick, but with no shin guards, we're not going to see that. Manny's working. We're just trying to get back in frame of the camera that eventually died. But this is what? Second round. You could easily give Manny the first for stuffing 2 takedowns and getting more jabs off, getting more done. Joe's really got to press the fight. You know, you're running out of a precious resource, which is time. You really want to, you know, if you lose 2 rounds, you know what that means. It's a three-round fight. If I'm Joe right now, I'm either using a jab to get in and I'm pressing him to the cage, or I'm going to wait for something or bait a jab, slip that, get close, and then press him to the cage there and do takedowns off the cage. But right now Manny knows that, so he's circled, so he's not, his back isn't even facing the cage. If Manny had a little wrestling, man, I swear he could have ducked in right there for a double leg and made it happen. But he's focusing on boxing right now, and when we're seeing that, so Manny controlling the fight, overwhelming Joe, getting to the cage. I think Joe is weighing around 180, 185, possibly. Manny's 210, 220, something right there. So there's a weight disparity. Plus you're wearing boxing gloves. Plus you got the sweat. So grappling's not going to be as easy, but you know, you got to make it work for you. Standing there on the reach. There we go. That's the end of second round. But standing back, just eating mouthfuls of jabs, you know, not the way you want to fight this one. So hopefully he's getting some good advice from the corner. In the next fight, I will spend some more time cornering people up until the fight. So in the weeks between now and then, cornering people so they know how I corner, talking to the cornermen, kind of encouraging them and coaching them on how to get better at cornering, giving them some things to look at, and take, you know, I want them to be able to take a look at the fight and say, okay, hey, you did this worked, let's see more of that. You did this didn't work, let's get away from that. Right now, I hope they're telling Joe that he can't stay on the outside, that he's got to get in. Arguably, you're down 2 rounds. You got 1 last round. If he can get a takedown, the chance of him getting a finish is, I'd say, 90% if he can just stabilize. So we know what it is. Joe's down 2. They touch. This is the 3rd and final round. Here we go. Hands up. A beautiful, blurry security cam footage fight. You'll love to see it. Manny looking good. He's in, he's out. We're getting footwork. He's not letting his feet get stuck in the mud. He's keeping his hands with him. I like this look from Manny. We're seeing some jabs, keeping Joe on the outside. Joe's really got to bait him into committing. There we go. We get the leg lifted. This is fantastic. Bouncing off the cage. Joe gets on top. Is he able to hold it? He's losing it. He's put himself in a bad spot. We're just keeping him from falling off out of the mat. Joe pushes it back to the cage. Here what he's got to do, if he can lean into Manny, he can put Manny's weight on the cage. If he pulls back, he's getting a lot of Manny's weight on himself. But just through pure strength and just a touch of technique, Joe is able to stabilize on top. But can he do anything with this? If Joe can stay on top through this round, that is going to be huge and really make it more interesting when we talk about scoring. So Joe's looks like he stepped up into mount. He needs to get his arm free without letting his opponent up, without letting Manny up off his back. Got to get that arm free. We got to see some damage. Manny has been on his back before. He knows how to rest in these positions. He knows how to get his hips out and try to stand up. He's been on his back many, many times before. And hopefully he can do something here. Joe is stabilizing. He gets mount. Really needs a submission. You know, we're not throwing hard enough to get a TKO. It would really look good and make it more competitive, but he really needs to try to visualize and isolate and possibly get a submission. Manny trying to get the hips out. Sometimes you got to turn your back to be able to get up, and Manny gets right to his feet. How much energy did that cost Joe, and is that demoralizing to get a takedown but not get much with it? Manny working the body, working the sides, working the front. This is mainly fatigue with Joe. Could have stepped in there, could have stopped it. They're not going that hard. I do tell Manny to keep it light to the head, but they're still working. Let's run it to the clock. In a fight, this probably would be stopped, but since they're not going that hard, Joe ends up kind of taking a knee, mainly for fatigue. Again, you want to put your fighters in positions where they get some Masagati stoppage right there. You want to put your fighters in positions where they have something where they can battle through, where they're not going to get injured, but they can fight through something, where they can work on something. That way, they've had these experiences before. They've had their back on the cage. They've had somebody teeing off. You know, he's not going to get knocked out or anything. He just, might have a sore liver for a day. But there we go. About 10 seconds to go, and then we stop it right there. So, fantastic fight. Joe really battled back with that second takedown. He just needed to be able to do more with it. Try to get some damage done, or get an arm isolated, get a choke, get something done with those takedowns. But fantastic fight. This is something they're both going to grow from, and they're going to be better after this. So as always, appreciate you for watching, and I believe we got one more fight, and that'll do it. As always, peace.